with for a very long time. Your website here, Better World Shopper, you have a book, you have a guide. This is something that you deal with frequently. People are not aware just how far back the companies go with a product that seems like it's natural or organic or saving the planet, but frequently when you look deeper into it, it's just not so.
Yeah, I mean, this is the main challenge I think that consumers face today, is that we are confronted with greenwashing all of the time. And so all of these companies keep saying that they're doing right by the environment, by human beings, et cetera. And yet we know that they're not. And so the question is, how do we figure out kind of the good guys from the bad guys? And so, with my own research, I've been working in this area for about a decade now. And I dig back about 25 years, and you can find data on animal protection issues, on human rights and social justice, on community involvement issues, and all kinds of environmental issues. And it's important that consumers have access to this information. That's why this app, there's Shop Ethical app. I have an app, Better World Shopper. There are all of these apps out there that are important for consumers to be able to use while they're in the supermarket. So that they can make these positive choices, because essentially these dollars are votes. We are empowering every one of these corporations with our dollars, just as we empower the president or any representative with votes. And so if we pull our dollars away from the Walmarts or the Exxons, we can, essentially vote them out of office. And if they don't follow the guidelines that we as consumers set for them, we can change what is going on in our global economy. And yet we need access to that information. So the work that is being done with the Buycott app, that, I spend a third of my time researching that kind of parent-company relationship stuff. It's not something that companies are required to tell us. In fact, many of them purposefully obscure those links so that you never know what's on that product. Even if you turn it around and read all of the fine print, you don't know who the parent company is, which is why apps like this are essential.
You have here in your book, on your website, you have the 20 best list. Can you explain what gets a company on the 20 best list when we're talking about ethics, when we're talking about how it affects the world, how it shapes our future?
Certainly. So this 25 years of data comes from just around 50 or so various sources, third-party sources, nothing from the companies themselves, but rather mostly nonprofits, some government data, some private sources of data, all accessible by the public and verifiable. All of this is put into a giant database. And then this database now with 2,000 companies has kind of winners and losers. And I just take the top 20 and the bottom 20, and you end up with a list of, say, the people over the past 25 years, or the companies that have been doing the worst by us, including all of the kind of problematic lobbying efforts and all of the campaign contributions, as well as the social and environmental things that we're more familiar with. So you get, ExxonMobil and Kraft and Walmart as the kind of top 1, 2, and 3 of the bad list. And then you can get, companies smaller, but somewhat known companies like Seventh Generation or Method, or companies like that at the top of the good list. And these are companies that are really either dragging us in the wrong direction or bringing us to a better future.
So, for example, I'm looking here, number 11, New Belgium Brewing. Let's say it's Friday and I'm in the cold area of the grocery store, and I'm trying to decide what I'm interested in imbibing that night. And I start scanning, and I scan a Fat Tire beer, and it would come up that it's great. It has great things. And is this something that you think will get people to switch over from perhaps their not so earth friendly beer to a more people friendly, a more community friendly beer?
I think so. New Belgium is a really interesting company, right? Because they're not just really environmentally and socially responsible, but they make great beer. I mean, that's the bottom line. Like, some of these products have to be good for people to switch over. And so it's when you can introduce consumers to products that aren't just by companies who are doing great things in the world, but are also really great products. And for those people who haven't had a New Belgium beer, I mean, that's a really good beer company. It's not always the case, but in those cases, I think it really will switch consumers over, that they really will start to kind of buy along with their values. And that all they need to do is find these companies that are sometimes a little more obscure. They're not usually the giants out there, so you have to do a little bit of hunting, but it makes a real difference for the world. And it makes, I think, empowers us as consumers because, again, we vote with our dollars every single day. We vote in elections every 2 years, every 4 years, but daily we are funding these companies. So why not fund the companies that are really making the world better?
Well, Ivan, I want to get back to you because